Good evening, everyone. We are back on the Hawks Eye View. I'm Andrew Barber here with Drew Shipley. Drew, always good to see you. How you doing on this fine Thursday evening?
It's good to see you too, Andrew. Looking forward to a weekend of nothingness. I don't think we have anything planned. I don't know if our listeners have been paying attention, but I've been kind of busy, the last couple weeks, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of have a down weekend, despite the fact that I fumbled the opportunity to go see the Big Ten Wrestling Championships right up the street that happens Saturday, Sunday. So I mean, kind of bummed that I spaced that one off, but it'll be nice to have some downtime for the weekend as well.
I promise that I forgive you and that the people listening will forgive you as well.
Fair enough.
Oh,
I will accept that.
okay. Yeah, wrestling. Let's talk about the record breaker. She broke a couple records since the last time we've been on this show. She broke the all-time women's scoring record. She broke the all-time NCAA scoring record. That's Caitlin Clark. I mean, I don't know what else to say, Drew. It was a special moment on Sunday. It was surreal. I mean, we've got Travis Scott running around on the sidelines with Jake from State Farm and Maya Moore. And it's like, these are the kinds of celebrities that show up at like a Lakers game, right? Not in Iowa City for a women's basketball game.
First off, what was Jake from State Farm freaking wearing? What was that?
No clue.
Okay.
Sitting next to Maya Moore.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure, is it just me not being cultured, or?
I had no clue what he was wearing, to be quite honest with you.
Okay. Second thing, you didn't even name the most random celebrity in the crowd last weekend.
Nolan Ryan?
Nolan Ryan, absolutely.
Love it.
That's awesome. Allegedly spent $7,000 on 5 tickets.
Wow. Well, he's got that money, right?
I mean, it's got to be nice to have some FU money,
right.
One of these days I'll have FU money, and then it'll be great.
My reason in pointing all of that out is that it was more than like a basketball game. Like, it was a spectacle.
Yeah.
On Sunday. And, I think it was just an awesome atmosphere. I mean, I heard from people who were there that it was one of the loudest atmospheres ever. Iowa won the game handily. That was good to see. Felt like we got our Iowa women back with that game, right? They struggled a little bit against Indiana on the road. Took a loss there. Maybe didn't look the best even after that, even though they were winning still, right? But they got right against the number 2 team of the nation.
It kind of mirrors last season, right? Got blown out here in College Park last year, and then they ran to the national championship game from there.
Gotcha. We apparently missed the boat on what Jake from State Farm was wearing. Kyle Juszczyk's wife makes these custom jackets, and she made one for Jake from State Farm and for Caitlin as well. So good on Chris for pointing that out. I didn't really quite understand what he was wearing, but that seems like a couple of custom jackets for the event, which is, it makes sense that Jake from State Farm was there because of the State Farm affiliation with Caitlin Clark. I was just waiting for like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift to come walking in the building at some point.
So the women's tournament's in Minneapolis, is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, I suppose.
Right.
I think we might have buried the lead regarding Caitlin Clark, though.
Oh, let's hear it.
Declaring officially for the WNBA.
Yeah.
I think the record setting was a matter of time, right? It was kind of anticlimactic that it happened at the free throw line, albeit she definitely tried for longer than a logo shot. That could have actually played into the result of the game in the long run, right? So they were up. What were they up? They were only up 5 at the time of that shot. Early in the shot clock, giving Ohio State the ball back to make it a 1-possession game, and somehow managed to fudge that up, and then get teed up to boot for Iowa to extend it to 9. Should have been 11. Like, how did Hannah Stolke's basket not count? Like, I don't understand. Never saw a replay of that, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, you could not have gotten the ball off any faster than she did on a catch shoot, like midair. There's no way in hell at 0.5 seconds went off the clock before that went up. There's no way.
Yeah, it was 0.8, right? It's 0.8 seconds.
Oh, it was 0.8. It was 0.8. You're right.
0.8.
There's absolutely no way that did not, and then not see one replay of it.
Yeah, I mean, she caught the pass and immediately put it up off the backboard in. Never saw a replay. I mean, I guess it must have been after the shot clock went off. I mean, after the end of half clock went off.
I mean, it had to have been, right? Because there's no way they overturned.
But I didn't see that.
Mathematically, it didn't add up, but then to never show the replay. Obviously, it was because Caitlin Clark broke the record. Actually, I take that back. It was 0.3 seconds left when Caitlin Clark made those free throws.
Yeah. Okay, maybe
it was 0.3. I remember that vividly.
Yeah, that's not enough time to do everything that Stokey did then in 0.3.
So I mean, so they kind of buried the final play because she broke the record that soon, I think. Yeah. And then ultimately didn't matter. What did matter? Molly Davis going out early. The good news sounds like she'll be able to rehab this particular injury. It was like kneecap injury. That doesn't sound like when she came back out for senior day, still in the wheelchair. Like I had no, I think I already went through the stages of grief of Molly Davis is not returning this year.
Right.
Like there's no way that she's hurt that bad and then she comes back,
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's great about it is, right, the Big Ten tournament's a whole 2 weeks before the big dance, right? So you have that whole 2 weeks of rehab and whatever that looks like for that injury. Who knows? Not a doctor. I'm sure it's not going to be pleasant for her. And it's her last stand, right? Like this is it. So I don't think Molly's has any sort of professional basketball in her future, Europe or otherwise.
No.
So I mean, I think she gives it a go, but then I think the bench has really gained some experience and some meaningful minutes down the stretch of some big games. Sydney Offalter, right?
She's awesome.
McCabe makes some shots here and there.
Right.
Kylie
Feuerbach was amazing in that Ohio State game. She had multiple steals that led to run-out layups. She hit a couple other shots. She really, after Molly Davis went down, Kylie Feuerbach kind of stepped her game up a little bit and kind of filled in that void. But yeah, like you mentioned a few people, but I want to get back to Caitlin Clark's decision. I ultimately, selfish as an Iowa fan, wanted her back for another year, but know that this is the right decision for her at this time. And I also love the timing of the decision because she didn't let it hang over senior day. Yeah. So she was able to get everyone the proper send-off on senior day. And Holly Rose said it best, like, every time I interview you, every time I hear you talk, you always bring up your teammates first.
Sure.
That's exactly why she announced it when she did, because she was not thinking of herself. She was thinking of, how do I make sure that my teammates get recognized on senior day in Iowa City? I'm going to get recognized anyways. How do I make sure that the focus comes off me a little bit so that my teammates can get the spotlight? So I thought that was neat. I think it's the right decision. She made it for a lot of factors, and yeah, it's going to be good to see her at the next level.
I thought it was cool that Holly Rowe ran the senior day.
Yeah,
festivities. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. She's got a real affinity for this Iowa women's team. So And she's good. She's good at what she does. So I think it was great that Holly Rowe did that.
Have you bought any Indiana Fever gear yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I'll wait for the Caitlin Clark jersey to get released, and then I'll wear the Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever jersey. And hey, I love the 1-2 combo of Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston.
Talk about coming full circle, right? Like that was that was like the big buffer, 2 seasons ago. It was like, who's the better player, Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark? Was it 2 years ago? Aaliyah Boston won it. Last year, obviously, Caitlin Clark won it.
Yeah.
And then to be on the same team, like how bad does that Indiana team have to be to get 2 number 1 picks in a row?
Pretty bad. But the answer to who's better is they're better together. That's going to be a duo that terrorizes the WNBA.
I believe for our betting degenerates out there, the line on Indiana Fever title is at 27-1.
What's that? Plus 2,700?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I might take a crack at that.
Do it. It's going to be a spectacle in the WNBA from game 1 for the Fever too. Because game 1 is them hosting the Liberty with Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. The star power in that game is off the charts. So people who think that the Caitlin Clark craze or mania is kind of going to subside after her college career are just, they're kidding themselves.
There's no way that game's not on ABC.
Yeah. And in a primetime slot.
They have to. WNBA has to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's in May, so it's during the heat of the NBA playoffs, but they'll find a time and a space for it that fits on a channel that fits.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it will be competing with the NBA playoffs.
Sure.
So, yeah, let's parlay this, to use another gambling term, into talking about the upcoming conference tournament for the women. I mean, Iowa is the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Ohio State's the 1 seed. I believe Indiana is the 3 seed. I don't have the bracket in front of me. I'm just going off the top of my head. I think those are the top 3 teams. Those are the 3 teams that I think maybe have a serious chance at it, although I know Mackenzie Holmes just got injured for Indiana, and I believe her backup went down with an injury too.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like it's really in Iowa, all roads kind of lead to an Iowa-Ohio State rematch on a neutral court in the championship game, which will happen on Sunday. Sunday's going to be a loaded day for Iowa fans if the women make the championship game.
And I think I heard Lisa Bluter say the women's championship game is at like 10 a.m.
What?
It's like 10 or 11 a.m.
Why?
Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I'm 99% sure it's 11 a.m. or earlier.
College basketball or football games or college games or sporting events that start before 11 a.m. Central Time, what are we doing? Why? The only reason for doing something like that is if it's in like London or some other place where it's a huge time zone difference. And
yeah, like,
I hope you're wrong.
I don't even know who has the media rights for that. Do you? Is it CBS?
Seems like a Fox thing, probably.
Oh, you're probably right.
Seems like a Big Ten FS1 Fox.
And Fox loves them big noon kickoffs. Like
right. Well,
that's what Fox sees as their primetime slot, right? Is noon.
Should be a noon game.
Well,
it is Ohio State.
Well, it is noon Eastern.
Yeah, ridiculous, man. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it. But yeah, all signs point to that. I know, even though with the Molly Davis injury, it might be a little bit more difficult for Iowa. But again, we're playing an Indiana team that might be without Mackenzie Holmes.
That's huge.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
Or, and I don't really think that no disrespect to whomever the 7 or the 10 seed is that ends up playing Iowa tomorrow on Friday. Actually, is that result in? Do we know who Iowa is going to play tomorrow?
I am not sure. Was it the
I'm
was it the
looking it
winner?
up real
Was it
quick.
the winner of Wisconsin Purdue? Does that sound right?
That sounds about right. I mean,
It turns out we have many computers right here, right in our hands. So I'm sure we can
yeah,
find it.
yeah. Let's find the Big Ten women's tournament bracket here. But
Wisconsin Penn State.
winner of Wisconsin Penn State.
I believe so.
Penn State is up 45-29 at halftime. So
I see that.
I'm guessing it'll be Penn State tomorrow night for Iowa.
I'm going to confirm that. So I just looked up on ESPN. It didn't have the bracket.
Looks
Anyway.
like Maryland will play Ohio State. Nebraska will play Michigan State. And then, yeah, go ahead and confirm that. But I think anyone who's still playing, I mean, the other options are Minnesota or Michigan, Wisconsin or Penn State. Penn State's going to win probably.
Hey, I nailed it. Yep. Winner of Penn State, Wisconsin.
Yeah, no disrespect to them. I think Iowa's going to have their way with either one of those opponents, whomever wins that game. So that's likely setting up for, I don't know, maybe Michigan could break through and beat an Indiana team that doesn't have Holmes on it. I think Michigan might be good enough to make that kind of a run, but Iowa would do, yeah, I don't know. I just don't see any way around an Iowa-Ohio State rematch, predicting an Iowa-Ohio State rematch.
So here's my question, Andrew, right? So they are back up to number 3 in the AP poll, but bracketology still has them on a 2 line.
Right.
Is the only scenario a Big Ten championship to get back to the 1?
I believe so. I feel like they can, by getting to the Big Ten championship, they can cement themselves as the highest 2 seed, therefore being paired up with the lowest 1 seed. So it's really semantics when it comes to 2 seed versus 1 seed.
Who could be Ohio State if Iowa loses the Big Ten championship game to them?
Right.
Because that's what we're talking about, right? Both teams aren't getting 1 seeds.
Right. But if Iowa, by all means, if they beat Ohio State on a neutral floor, let me look at bracketology real quick for the women's side of things. This is as of March 4th, so it's not the most recent. But I think the 1 seeds are Ohio State, UCLA, South Carolina, and Stanford.
2 Pac-12 teams.
South Carolina and Stanford are locked in as 1 seeds. I think there's 2 more 1 seeds up for grabs. And from the ones that are up for grabs, I think you have to think about Iowa, Texas, UCLA, Ohio State, maybe USC, maybe LSU. Those are kind of the 6 teams that are going to fight for 2 spots as 1 seeds.
Sure.
But really, I think it's bigger for Iowa to not have to play South Carolina before a Final Four scenario.
I just don't want to get ahead of the cart before the horse. We got to get there. You got to win the games one at a time. You know what I mean? Like, remember when Creighton went in and knocked off Iowa State and Iowa in back-to-back weeks 2 years ago?
Iowa and then Iowa State. Yeah, they beat Iowa State in the Sweet 16. They beat us in the round of 32.
And we were both we were
on a path to play each other in the Sweet 16.
We were 3 and 2 seeds, or something like that, right?
Iowa was the 2. Iowa State was the 3.
Yep.
We're on a path to play each other in the Sweet 16, which would have been insane.
Yeah.
Creighton had to ruin it. But yeah, so right now, as of March 4th, ESPN bracketology has Iowa as a 2 seed in the Portland region with UCLA as the 1 seed.
No, I want them in Albany.
Yeah, I think Albany would be the ideal, and Albany would mean that we knock off Ohio State probably for a 1 seed. I would like that. So either way, we're hosting the first 2 games, regardless of what happens here at the Big Ten tournament. Iowa's hosting the first and second round game. If they make it past the first round, they'll host the second round too.
Yeah.
So I feel good about Iowa's prospects, and I think that team that showed up on Sunday and dismantled Ohio State, that's a team that can make a Final Four run. We got Gabby Marshall back. We got, back in form. We got Hannah Stolke playing well. We have other role players stepping up like Kylie Feuerbach. I think McCabe is going to be a huge part of the Big Ten tournament run now with Molly Davis out, I think. But she's known for her shooting, and that's going to be Caitlin Clark plus shooters around Caitlin Clark is the path to winning for this Iowa team.
Sure. So let me ask you this, Andrew, because you're a better basketball savant than I am. McCabe is not exactly a common last name. Are we talking like Zach McCabe, sister?
I don't think it's any relation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Taylor McCabe is from Nebraska, where she scored over 3,000 points in her high school career.
Oh, wow.
She was kind of like she's a little bit more talented than Austin Ash, but like Austin Ash scored like 3,000 points in his high school career in Iowa for Mount Vernon. And Taylor McCabe is like a similar deal coming from Nebraska. She played for like a 2A or 3A school around there and was the best player on her team and known as a sharpshooter. So,
what did Austin Ash score for the University of Iowa? Like 12?
Yeah. And then transferred to the Citadel and like was one of the top scorers in that conference.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, shit. The more you know.
He had like a wild game against North Carolina where he scored like 30 points against the Tar Heels.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
That dude had Caitlin Clark range before we knew what Caitlin Clark range was. Austin Ash was the best shooter on Iowa men's team. It's just that he didn't have any of the other necessary skills to play major minutes, but he was the best shooter on the team.
Over Bohannon?
Yes. Even Bohannon. I think Bohannon even admits this. I think Bohannon even says this, that Austin Ash was the best shooter on the team.
Interesting, because it's not like Bohannon brought a lot more to the table either.
Right. He had a little bit more passing ability, basketball IQ, slightly more athleticism. Right.
Sure. Okay.
Just enough more athleticism to make it.
Yeah.
Right. But that is a great segue into men's basketball talk that we will talk about coming up after the break. We'll hear from Revelton and Wintrust.
Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. One sip, and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, there's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
All right. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors. We are back. And men's basketball this Sunday, we have a huge game coming up against Illinois at home. Sold out crowd. Love it. Be there, be loud, make tons of noise. Go ahead, Drew. You got something on your mind.
I got it out of my mind because I just want to get it out of the way. Programming note from the West Coast Conference Tournament. Pepperdine led Pacific 56-9 at halftime. It is now 98-42 with a minute 30 left. 100-42.
Holy cow.
Welcome to March Madness, folks. This is wild.
Yeah. Have you seen the West Coast Conference's bracket?
No,
It's
is it Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and that's it? Like, that's all it should be?
No, they like gauntlet style, basically. So, like, all the lower seeded teams like play each other and weed each other out before Gonzaga and St. Mary's even play.
Really? That's
So
pretty
Gonzaga and or St. Mary's won't even play until Saturday.
I like it. Gulag. Like
Yeah.
Gulag. Yeah.
And it's major advantage to your top teams. It basically secures that one of your top two teams is going to win the conference tournament, basically in perpetuity.
Listen, I mean, that's how you value the regular season. I like it.
Mm-hmm. No, I actually like it too. People are panning it, but I like it for that reason. So
for sure.
Yeah, the Iowa men, big game on Sunday, playing Illinois at home. Illinois doesn't have much to play for in terms of like Big Ten seeding. Iowa has everything to play for. Big Ten seeding, NCAA tournament possibilities. I think the math is simple for Iowa. Right now they're one of the first four out, last four in some places. It depends on which bracketologist you look at. There's 90 some of them, and I think like 16 of them have Iowa in, right? So do the math. The other 77 have Iowa out. But I've read that basically if Iowa wins the game on Sunday, their chances go up to making the NCAA tournament to like around 70%.
Yeah.
They're floating around like 37 or 38% right now. It would go way up to like 70%, and that's not factoring in other bubble teams that they're competing against playing themselves out, which happens.
For sure. So I would say I have 2 points, actually 1 point, one concern, right? So
yeah,
Illinois coming off a tough loss at Purdue, giving away a big lead at home.
right.
I don't know how much stock you put into a team playing pissed off, or a team, kind of letting one get away. Like how much stock you put into like that narrative.
Right.
And then secondly, it might not even be the most important game played on Sunday is Iowa, Illinois for Iowa. It might be those bubble teams. It might be the Missouri Valley championship game, right? It might be, as long as it's Indiana State or Drake that wins it, like that's the best case scenario, right? Because one of the two were likely making it anyway. So like the bubble busters, got to avoid the bubble busters this week. So
right.
I mean, generally speaking, I think they're set. I wouldn't even necessarily call it a must win, Andrew. Like I really don't, because I see more bubbles bursting than normal this year.
Yeah.
I think chalk wins the day this March as far as conference tournaments concerned. Like you just said, the West Coast Conference. Wasn't Gonzaga like on the bubble?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Oh, because didn't they truck St. Mary's by 30 or something?
Yeah, they blasted St. Mary's by like 30 at St. Mary's.
Right.
Gonzaga's one of the hottest teams, so they're definitely in. Here's the teams that we're really competing against.
Yep.
Not even worried about the Missouri Valley, really.
Okay.
The teams that we need to play their way out are Virginia, Wake Forest, Utah, Colorado, St. John's, New Mexico. We need like those kinds of teams to play their way out, basically. Wake Forest is probably out by virtue of their home loss to Georgia Tech. What I'm looking at with Lunardi here is as recent as the 5th, so it doesn't include the Georgia Tech loss, I don't believe, here in his projections. He's got Iowa as like first four out in the last spot on this projection, but I think he's since moved Iowa up a little bit. So we're rooting for Virginia and Wake Forest to bow out of the ACC tournament early. Don't pick up any signature wins. I think Wake plays Clemson at home on Saturday. We want like Wake to lose to Clemson because Clemson's solidly in. So I think Iowa does need this game on Sunday to solidify things. And I think they can there's even scenario where they can push themselves past the last four in. Like if they win on Sunday, they need some crazy things to happen, but they could achieve a 3 seed in the Big Ten tournament. It's like an 18% probability, but it's not going to happen. Most likely they can achieve a 6 seed if they win.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, Andrew, because I just saw the Big Ten standings because I'm watching this riveting Rutgers-Wisconsin game on the background, right? Like
right.
Only 2 ranked teams from the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm. Purdue, Illinois.
And then I would argue that like Illinois doesn't even deserve it at this point. Like 8-9 loss team. Like who have they beat?
They deserve a ranking, man. They're a good team. They're definitely a good team.
I think you got your Big Ten blinders on, Andrew. But I'll
22-8. They have 5 quad 1 wins. They're 5-6 against the quad 1. They're 16th overall net. Net ranking would tell you they're the 16th best team in the nation.
Okay.
Ken Palm will tell you they're number 12.
You're making my preseason argument then, saying that Illinois was the best chance of Big Ten getting a Final Four.
Well, they don't. They still have Brad Underwood as their coach. So,
I mean, we've seen number 1 seed Purdue go down in first weekend all the time. So,
right. The important point for Iowa is it's picking up another quad 1 win. They have 3 quad 1 wins. Beating Illinois would be a 4th. If they achieve the 6 seed, Nebraska probably locks into the 3 seed. If all favorites hold and Iowa beats Illinois, and that's the upset, and all other favored teams to win in the Big Ten win on Saturday and Sunday, Iowa will be the 6 seed. Nebraska will be the 3 seed. Maryland will play Michigan in an 11-14 game the day before on Wednesday. So Iowa would play the winner of Maryland-Michigan. So probably a 3rd opportunity at Maryland. Win that one. That is like a quad 2 victory on a neutral court. But beating Nebraska on a neutral court in the quarterfinals would be another quad 1 win for Iowa.
Here's another thing. Saturday, Minnesota at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Minnesota opportunity to move back up into a quad 1 category.
They really who'd they lose to last night? They lost to somebody last night. They're down into the 80s now.
They lost to never. Just kidding. Yeah, they lost to Indiana at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
And that's going to do it for Minnesota.
Well, I guess it's going to do it for Northwestern too, because they lost to Michigan State on the same night. So,
right. Well, yeah, that's going to do it for Minnesota as far as being a road quad 1 win for Iowa.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's unfortunate. Never mind.
Yeah,
I stand corrected, Andrew.
We are rooting for Minnesota in that game, not for their net ranking, for the 3 seed possibility. If Michigan beats Nebraska at home, it's on the road. Nebraska's on the road at Michigan. Michigan's awful. But if they can pull that out somehow, and if Minnesota can go win at Northwestern, who's struggling, both teams are struggling. If Minnesota can find a way, and Iowa beats Illinois, Iowa's the 3 seed.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: Does Michigan State on Lunardi's bracket?
Yeah, they're solidly in.
How's that work?
It's probably due to their net ranking being 22 overall, 4-8 in quad 1. I mean, Iowa's 3-8, 18-12, but they don't have any quad 4, quad 3 losses, and they're 5-4 in quad 2.
So what you're saying is they go and get their dicks kicked in by the Blue Bloods in the first 2 weeks of the season, and that helps them.
Yep. And Iowa has a quad 3 loss. They're 5-3 against quad 2. I mean, if Iowa didn't have that quad 3 loss, maybe they would be a little bit closer to Michigan State territory where they're more
Who's-
locked in. But they're 3-8 against Quad 1, very similar to Michigan State's 4-8, also 18-12. Like,
right.
but yeah, we're not competing with Michigan State. I don't think we need to. When we're talking about the bubble, Michigan State's not on it.
Like it's weird to me, Andrew, how some sports head-to-head matchups matter and some don't, and some don't. Like, we kicked their ass at the Breslin Center. Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Like why head-to-heads don't matter more in a resume comparing scenario.
Yeah. Well,
because that's all that matters in college football.
right.
Common opponents, like all that shit. Like,
I think some of that is baked into the net formula. Like, if you actually want to look at the net formula, some of that is baked in, but it's not as weighted as heavily as we do with college football.
Yeah. I don't know.
College football head-to-head is what you've got because there's far less games.
That's true.
Each game matters more. It's like, how do you – and it's a little bit more like even in terms of scheduling across college football, right? Whereas like basketball scheduling works just so much differently.
Who's our quad 3 loss?
It's probably – is it –
at home against Maryland?
No, it's at home against Michigan.
Oh, that's right.
That's got to be it. Because if I'm looking at,
well, that's fucking embarrassing. We gave them 18% of their conference wins this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, not even that. No, we gave them more than that. Michigan's only won 3 conference games.
Yeah, the only home loss or the only loss that Iowa has that's quad 3 is the loss to Michigan, who's 8-22. So
that's unbelievable. There's no way. There's no way Juwan Howard survives that. I don't think.
I can't believe it. I think he did. Right. I think they're standing by him. Right. I have no clue.
I don't know, man.
Indiana standing by Mike Woodson too for some reason. But yeah, enough about that. I think Sunday's game is huge. If we want to talk the actual details of Sunday's game, I think Coleman Hawkins burned us last time for 30 points. He's an awful matchup for Iowa. I don't know what Iowa's going to do to contain Coleman Hawkins. We did a decent job on Terrence Shannon last time. I didn't feel like Terrence Shannon exploded against Iowa the last time that we played him. I'm going to actually look it up as we speak.
Wasn't Owen Freeman in early foul trouble against Coleman the last time? Yeah.
So my keys are contain Coleman Hawkins, Freeman stay out of foul trouble, and then you need Tony Perkins to be an aggressive scorer along with like the emergence of Josh Dix. Like Josh Dix averaging 21 points in his last 3 games. That's amazing. That's a huge part of why I was doing exactly what he's doing. And man, our dicks are on fire.
You should probably have that checked out, Andrew. I'm no doctor, but
I'm sorry. There's so many puns. Like Dix has just been huge for this Iowa team.
They say he's a grower, not a shower. You know, I mean,
yeah. I'm sorry. I'll stop with the Dix puns now. But I love it. Yeah, I'm looking what happened the last time we played Illinois. It's a high scoring game. I fully expect that again. It was 95-85. Yeah, Freeman had some early foul trouble, finished with 8 points and 8 rebounds. Josh Dix was good in that game. He had 20 points. Tony Perkins had 18 points, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. Like Peyton Sandfort didn't shoot well. He was 3 for 11, didn't make a 3. That's kind of really the key to the game for me. Like Coleman Hawkins had 30 points, and then Shannon had 12, and Harmon had 12, and then everybody else for Illinois was like 9 or 8 or 2 or 4 or 6. Like we did a good job on Domask and a pretty decent job on Shannon, and we'll have to do the same thing again. It's just how do you slow down Coleman Hawkins? He just happens to be a bad matchup for Iowa.
It's really weird too, Andrew, because he looks so awkward out there offensively. Like,
Right.
how did he hang 30 points in any game? Honestly,
Right.
I would compare him. You think a good comp would be like Joakim Noah?
No, because
You don't think
Joakim
so?
Noah was a defensive stud, and
That's true.
Coleman Hawkins
That's
is not
true.
a defensive stud. I'm trying to think of
that's true. I guess I was thinking offensively.
dude, I feel like
He's just awkward out there.
Coleman Hawkins is like
Adam Woodbury.
maybe like Aaron White with a 3-point shot, like a more consistent 3-point shot.
Oh, I feel like that's a dig to Aaron White, but okay.
Well, he's not as talented. Like a poor man's version of, I don't even know. I don't have a good comp for Coleman Hawkins. Again,
I'm just saying he looks awkward out there. I don't see how he puts up 30 points, but
right. I don't see how he puts up 30 points in Iowa City.
Well, I mean, are playing a Fran McCaffrey coach team, so I mean,
right. Well,
whatever. Defense is optional.
I don't think he'll have 30 points again. I'm going to go
I
out
would,
on
I
a
would
limb.
bet. I would bet. Yeah, I would bet that for sure.
Yeah. So I like Iowa's chances. I think Iowa's going to win this game on Sunday. It's going to really solidify things. And that's going to roll them into the conference tournament. So, which I think if they win on Sunday, it's going to set them up in a nice position to make a run in the conference tournament as well, because I'm not really scared to play anybody on a neutral court in the Big Ten except for Purdue. Purdue is a bad matchup for Iowa.
And they have been for like a decade, man. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, you'll see Nebraska knock off Purdue. Like, what's that shit? You know what I mean? Yeah. You're absolutely right. I've seen some scenarios or some conversations, Andrew, where people are saying that Iowa might actually hurt themselves by getting a double bye top 4 seed because of the one less possibility of another win.
Quad 1 win.
Well, I mean, they're not going to get a quad 1 win if they're playing on Thursday night. They're not going to do that.
No, not in that Thursday game, but in the Friday game, they're going to have a chance because they're going to be playing a team that's likely in the top 50 of net, which is all you need
for a neutral court.
For a neutral court, like they need to be playing. They're going to play Illinois and Nebraska in the quarterfinals if they make it past Thursday.
Okay.
Because if they get the 6 seed, I'm predicting that Nebraska is going to achieve the 3 seed. Favorites are going to hold. Nebraska is going to achieve the 3 seed. Illinois is locked into the 2 seed. So if we lose to Illinois, then we're going to be in the 7 seed playing like a 10-seeded Penn State. So we're going to have Penn State on Thursday and have to turn right around and play Illinois on Friday when we just played them on Sunday. So if Illinois beats us on Sunday, we could be turning right around and playing them again on Friday.
Okay. So I mean, so what we're kind of debunking that theory then, right? Like if they somehow managed a top 4 seed, that
the top 4 seed scenario involves Michigan beating Nebraska. Nebraska's been awful on the road, so like Michigan could do it, but Michigan's bad.
They're really bad.
Yeah, I think Nebraska's going to beat Michigan on the road. I think it's going to be another one of Nebraska's road wins.
Okay.
Maybe they won't, and I don't think Minnesota is beating Northwestern. So
I don't know now, man. Like after those Wednesday games and those results, like what?
Yeah. Well, and Northwestern is racked with injuries because their center Nicholson went down.
Yeah.
Ty Berry already went down. He was their starting guard.
Yep.
Langborg was out for the Iowa game. I think he came back against Michigan State, but didn't look good. Right. And he's kind of hobbled.
It's just Boo Buie.
Boo Buie got injured during the Iowa game, but I think he's back out there and fighting through it. It's just Northwestern's been ravaged with injuries. So, yeah, I don't know. One last question for you before we just make our official score predictions for Sunday and our predictions for the women's tournament. Is this Fran McCaffrey's best coaching job?
I think that's hard to define, Andrew, because I think the answer is predicated on another tournament berth.
Right.
I think it's up there if that's the case, if they make the field. I mean, his last 3 seasons really have been some of the best coaching he's done his whole career. I mean, the Murray twins and how they were developed, getting a 3 seed a couple years ago with Garza. But I mean, those were seasons that came with expectations, right? We had the returning Wooden Award winner in Garza, Joe Wieskamp, those teams, right? I think those teams came with expectations, and I've said this before, and I think it's held true this year as well, that Fran's young teams peak this time of year.
Yeah.
And I think that's happening, luckily for us, because, a month ago we were dead in the water and we were like, we're only talking about the women's team. It's like, well, Iowa lost to Michigan and Iowa City. And how about that Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's nice to talk about the men having a possibility of making the dance. So to answer your question, I guess a roundabout way, I think it's to be determined. And if they do make the field, I mean, I think it's right up there with the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is a great coaching job if they make the field. I'm going to answer my own question and say, yeah, this is his best. Because he doesn't really have a go-to guy. Like you mentioned those other teams. Luka was the go-to guy. Keegan was the go-to guy. Chris Murray was the go-to guy. This year, we knew that there wasn't really a go-to guy. We knew that it was going to have to be a mix of guys like Sanford, Perkins, and now Dix has really emerged.
Yeah.
So like
He's,
I said I was done. I didn't. That was
it emerged, Andrew, like this, or like
came up out of nowhere. So sorry, kids. I hope there's no one listening.
no, it's rated E for a reason, Andrew. It's fine.
It's rated D for dicks. Okay, this is probably the most fun I've ever had on a podcast because I'm a complete juvenile. I'm sorry.
No, this is great. So I don't know if you watched False Starts this week, Andrew, with Ross Peterson and Bill Blank.
I don't know if I should answer that question. Yeah, I didn't watch False Starts. I'm sorry.
You did. You did, or you didn't? Okay, so
I didn't. I feel shame.
If you want to keep up your humor, you need to watch that podcast because it was wonderful.
Great.
Bill Blank has some wonderful stories. It turns out that their episode is about dealing with divorce, and Bill Blank has a incredible way of dealing with it. Let's just put it that way.
Nice. I like it.
Hi, Bill. Go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks. Another note on Fran McCaffrey. I mean, I was going to finish in the top half of the Big Ten again. I think I said this one time on this podcast. I'll say it again, but it's the 12th time in 14 years of Fran McCaffrey's job at Iowa that Iowa will finish in the top half of the Big Ten.
That's awesome.
7th or better. 12 out of 14 years. Considering where we came from, so you had the 1 year at the beginning of his tenure where he inherited the Licklider mess.
Oh, God.
And then you had the 1 year where it was like freshman Jabo and senior Jock, sophomore Cook, right? That whole lineup, right? The freshman class around Bohannon. So that was a bad team that won 11 games, right? And then that's it. Those are the 2 outliers. So,
well,
I know Sweet 16 is a huge thing. I think, people can harp on that all they want, but like for this team, I think making it in is good. I'm not going to be disappointed if this version of the Iowa men's team doesn't make a Sweet 16. I think it's expected that they're not going to make a Sweet 16. I don't want to say just making it in is good enough, but like for this year's Iowa team, I feel like it is.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
something. It's not meaningless, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
the positive, right, is like 80% of this roster are underclassmen.
Yeah,
Like we lose Tony Perkins, that's huge.
if we do.
Does he have a COVID year left or something?
He has a year of eligibility. He could go play professionally. I know Swarm is going to put something together to try and retain Perkins.
Okay, well that would be great if they did, because
Yeah.
I mean that team, this same team returning next year, 1 year older, one
Yeah.
more year of development, could be a top 4 Big Ten team. But granted, we're bringing the Pac-12 teams in now, next year.
Yeah, I think we'll lose Patrick McCaffrey, who's already said he's
that's
moving
done.
on.
Yep.
Ben Krikke is out of eligibility, and there's Peyton Sanford showing up on second round of draft boards in a weak draft. He might go just simply because next year's draft class might be better. This might be his opportunity to get drafted. I could see him coming back, but he's going to have a decision to make for sure. So
it's weird to me because this is not a knock against Peyton Sanford.
Yeah.
But how the hell can Luka Garza not get a full-time contract? Like, I think he's head and shoulders above the player Peyton Sanford is.
Yeah, well,
and he can't stick. He can shoot from anywhere, literally anywhere.
Yeah, I know.
So, I don't know, man. Like, good luck to him, I guess, if he goes.
It's not a sure thing that he's going. I'm just saying he's showing up on the radar. It's a weak year for the draft. If he really has those dreams of being in the NBA, this might be his chance to kind of seize it. Because I think next year's potential draft class is a little deeper. He's going second round if he goes this year, so it's not a guaranteed contract for him anyways. Even if he goes this year, he's going to get drafted in the second round or not at all.
Sure.
So,
well, he's not going number 1 to Washington, who is like one of the worst basketball teams I have ever seen in real life. Oh my God. So terrible. But 16 in a row. Anyway, not here nor there. This is an Iowa podcast.
you're hitting on something, and we can talk about this more when we hit the off season and we gear up for next basketball season. But if the scenario becomes that we are able to bring Tony Perkins back, Peyton Sanford chooses to stay, right? I think that's the makings of a special team, because you're going to have another year of development for Freeman. I think Dembele could probably – he's shown some good things. He could probably slide into that starting spot. You'd have Perkins, Dix, Sanford, Freeman. That's a pretty solid core to work from and build out from. You can figure out what you're going to do at the 4 spot, whether that's Dembele or I'm excited about Chris Taggio, who's going to be a freshman, Cooper Cook, J.R. Cook's son, who's coming in, is going to play a role next year.
Wait. Did you just pronounce it Cook?
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced.
No. When I was growing up watching JR, it was J.R. Koch.
I thought it had been corrected and pronounced Cook.
No way. That would blow my mind. We got to get fact checkers on that.
Okay, we'll get our fact checkers on it. Hey, it's us. We're the fact checkers.
I could have swore to God I watched Larry Morgan on ESPN Plus say J.R. Koch billions of times.
I did too. However, I believe somewhere else I heard that it was actually...
No way.
If I'm wrong, Cooper, JR, I apologize. By the way, I love J.R. Koch, man. J.R. Koch
he was a dog, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of potential here. So I think you got to hit the portal a little bit to maybe fill in some gaps, but not really too many. I mean, maybe if you want to hit the portal to find a starting 4-man, or you want to throw Dembele into that 4 spot and then find a backup big and a backup guard.
Yeah,
Right,
that's the
someone-
unfortunate. That's the unfortunate part about McCaffrey and Krikke both running out of time.
Yeah.
Leaves that 4 spot wide open. Gonna have to hit the portal. I think I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, unless Dembele or Freeman can develop a consistent outside shot, I think Freeman will at some point in his career develop at least a mid-range game, but
Sure.
maybe not. Yeah, he'll develop an outside shot. And Dembele, we've seen him hit threes, so I think he just needs to be more consistent with that. So he could play the 4. We could play a little bit bigger lineup there, or we could do some things where we like we do this year, where we play Peyton Sanford at the 4 spot for brief stretches.
Yeah.
Then we bring in an extra guard. So I don't know. What I'm saying is there's a lot of potential here because of all the freshmen. We've seen all the potential with each and every one of them.
Yep.
And Dix too. So next year's team could be loaded, I guess, is what I'm saying. There will be expectations on next year's team if Perkins and Sanford are back.
Sure.
So, all right, let's get out of here and make some predictions. Let's start with the women's tournament first. I'm going to be bold and just say Iowa's going to beat Ohio State in the championship game, earn that 1 seed on Sunday. It's going to be hard fought. It's going to be great, but they're in Carver North. Going to be loaded with Iowa fans. It's basically going to be a home game for the Hawks up there in Minneapolis. Give me Iowa in the home spot. They're going to defeat Ohio State on a Sunday again.
So I would rather them lose here in Minneapolis than in the dance, right?
Yeah.
I think losing Molly Davis for this particular tournament is going to be critical. I'm going to say they dropped the Big Ten final.
Okay.
Close game. I mean, it's not going to be embarrassing by any means. I mean, you lose to a top 4 team or whatever, top 5 team. It's
Sure.
nothing to be ashamed about, I guess. And then they're doing the damage in the big dance.
Okay.
I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. Well, last year their Big Ten tournament run kind of sparked them on the run to the national championship.
That's true.
I'm of the mindset, why not both? Let's go get both. And they're capable of doing it. So yeah, I'm not going to hold it against you for picking against them, but yeah, they're capable of doing both. I think we know
Hey, man! I come with good juju and good reasoning for it because I would rather see the
For sure.
production be in the big one.
Yep, I agree with you. The NCAA tournament matters way more. It'd be cool to win another Big Ten tournament, though. Wouldn't that be 3 in a row?
It would be 3 in a row.
Yeah, 3 in a row at the Big Ten tournament would be.
And then I can post my picture of me putting a thumbs down in front of the Big Ten championship Ohio State billboard that I was in front of last weekend.
There you go. There you go. Maybe we should have kept that one in the hopper until.
Yeah.
All right, Sunday, the Iowa men match up against Illinois, home game. Official prediction: I think Iowa's going to win this game. It's going to be 87-80.
I was going to say 88-84. So, I mean, I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's going to be a high scoring. Hope you like points. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of points on Sunday. I think it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Sold out. I think people are going to be loud and boisterous like they should be.
Yep.
I'll be watching both Iowa games from home, hopefully the women in a tournament final and the men on Sunday night to cap off my weekend. So, yeah, you said 88-84. I got 87-80.
Yep.
Going to be an awesome weekend for the Hawks. I love this time of year. One last thing before we get out of here. For the month of March, we're coming back weekly. There's just too much going on. We'll have NCAA tournament stuff, Big Ten men's tournament stuff, a recap of everything that happened this past weekend. We're in March, baby. As John Rothstein says, we sleep in May. The Hawks Eye View isn't going to sleep. So we'll be back every week in March through the rest of the month so that we can bring you all the basketball, wrestling, baseball, everything we got going on. to you. So thanks as always to our sponsors. Thanks as always to you for listening. We appreciate you. Check us out wherever you get our podcasts, and have a great night, and go Hawks.
Good night.